Coming into this season, a lot of fans thought that the Warriors would contend for the title once again as they had Klay Thompson, Steph Curry and Draymond Green all back healthy. But then just before the season was about to start, Klay Thompson reportedly injured his Achilles and would be out for the entire season, devastating news for Warriors fans and the entire NBA community. But their season is by no means over. Of course, it's very unlikely that they'll win the championship now, but Steph Curry could still win MVP. And if Steph does win MVP this year, it would be the third time in his career and it'd really boost his all-time ranking. So let's talk about that. Is Steph Curry a serious candidate for MVP? So far this season, Steph has been playing great and has led the Warriors to a 54.5% win percentage, which is quite impressive. They currently sit all the way down at the 8th seed though, which is low for their win percentage. And to put into context how much stronger the West is than the East this year, if the Warriors were in the East with this same record, they'd currently be sitting in the 4th seed. But of course, the 8th seed isn't very impressive, and no matter how good Steph plays, he will not win MVP if he finishes in the 8th seed. But I do think the Warriors will finish higher than 8th seed, as they have had quite a tough schedule so far. What is important to note though is that the Warriors being in the Pacific Division means that they are going to have to play the Lakers, Clippers and the Phoenix Suns all 3 times. And unfortunately for the Warriors, they still have to play the Lakers and the Suns twice and the Clippers another time. So far though, the Warriors did actually beat the Lakers the first time they played, and they've won one of their games against the Clippers, which is quite impressive. They don't have to play the Nets or the Pacers again though, which is nice, and they do still have a lot of games against what I would call the weaker teams. And now if you're a fan of any of the teams I'm about to say, please don't be offended, they're just some of the lesser teams in the NBA right now. They still have all 3 games against the Rockets, in which they should win all 3. They've then got 3 games also against the Grizzlies too, where they should win at least 2 games. Then they've got 3 games against the Pelicans, where they should win at least 2 or 3. And then they've got 3 games against the Thunder, where I'd expect them to win all 3. And then they also have 2 games each against the Hawks, Kings and the Washington Wizards, and these should really give the Warriors a chance to raise their seed. Because I think even if the Warriors can get to the 5th seed in the West, then Steph will be in the MVP conversation. And with all those teams that I've just named there, they should win a really good percentage of those games and should definitely boost their ranking a bit. And now let's talk about Steph Curry specifically and actually go into his analytics. Steph is currently 2nd in points per game, being only behind Bradley Beal. Steph is also shooting the most 3-points in the league right now, and he's made the most 3-pointers in the league, and he's shooting an incredible 3-point percentage of 42%. He's got one of the best free throw percentages in the league right now too, with him being 5th best so far. So in short, Steph Curry is still the best shooter in the league by far. There are some guys like Joe Harris and Jeremy Lamb who are currently shooting over 50% from 3, but one, they're taking far less shots than Steph, and the difficulty of the shots that they're taking are far easier. Because pretty much every shot that Harris and Lamb take will be catch and shoot 3s and often wide open looks, whereas Steph takes so many off the dribble contested 3s that are so much harder to make. Steph also has the 3rd best true shooting percentage of his entire career, which is really nice, and he's also averaging 6.2 assists and 5.2 rebounds, which are solid stats too. So all in all, Steph is still one of the most elite players in the league today, and I think you could rank him as high as 3rd overall. And this would be with LeBron and KD being the only 2 players better than him. So Steph certainly has the ability to win MVP, and right now I would say he's playing at an MVP level. One huge advantage that Steph has in the MVP race though is that he doesn't have any great teammates, with Draymond Green and Kelly Oubre being the best support that he has. And if the Warriors didn't have Steph playing, we all know what they'd look like this season. They'd be the worst team in the league, and they'd be exactly like they were last year. But then with Steph Curry, I believe they'll be a top 5 team in the West when this season is all said and done with. One narrative that I'm glad Steph has already been able to put away though is the narrative that he won't be able to lead a team and that he can't win with any other superstars. And to me this is honestly just a really stupid argument. You've got a top 2 point guard all time and you're saying he won't be able to lead a team by himself. Because I'm not sure if you remember at the start of the season, there were fans that genuinely thought that the Warriors would miss the playoffs just because they were missing Klay Thompson. And although the Warriors are still at the 8th seed and I guess they could still miss the playoffs, I'm very certain that they won't. But where do I actually see Steph finishing in MVP voting, as that's what this video is all about. And out of the 6 players that I'm covering in this series, I think Steph is definitely one of the stronger candidates. But with that being said, he's certainly not one of the favourites right now. For Steph to be MVP for me, all he'd need to do is raise the Warriors seed, like I've been saying throughout this video. And this is obviously far easier said than done, but if he takes the Warriors to 3rd seed, he'll definitely win MVP. 4th seed, he has a really good shot, and then 5th seed, he has a good chance. But then where do I actually predict the Warriors will finish? And right now I'd have to go with the 5th seed, but I'd like to think the 4th seed. Because if they're going to finish the 4th seed, they'd have to do better than both the Blazers and the Phoenix Suns, which I really don't know if they'll be able to do right now. But if they're going to finish at the 5th seed and just beat out one of those two teams, that's far more likely. And I think if Steph was to take the Warriors to 5th seed in the West, then he'd likely finish 2nd or 3rd in MVP voting, but then at the same time, the MVP race really depends on what other players are doing. Because I think if Joel Embiid and the Philadelphia 76ers hold on to that number 1 seed in the East, then there's really nothing that Steph could do. So right now I'm going to predict that Steph will finish 2nd or 3rd in MVP voting, but if he does go on to win it, I wouldn't be too surprised either. Where do you think Steph will finish in MVP voting though, and where do you think the Warriors will finish in the Western Conference? And also, I don't think I've actually asked this yet in my MVP videos, but who do you actually have as your favourite right now for MVP? You can leave any comments you like down below, really helps out my channel, and so does liking if you want to do that. And then my final video of this series is going to be on LeBron James, and we're going to try and have that out before we reach March. And so as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on that next video.